I do not mean to interrupt.
Then perhaps you should wait until we have finished the interview.
I do not mean to interrupt.
Then perhaps you should wait until we have finished the interview.
I do not mean to interrupt.
Then perhaps...
I do not mean to interrupt.
Then perhaps...
What do you need? What can I do?
I will not take up any...
Aha.
What do you need? What can I do?
I will not take up any...
What do you need? What can I do?
I will not take up...
It would be my pleasure.
You have been most helpful, mademoiselle.
Huh. Oh. Huh.
Sacre. What is the meaning of this? It is the missing painting, and this photograph is identical to one that had been burnt in the fire. I do not mean to interrupt.
Then perhaps you should wait until we have finished the interview.
Mademoiselle Farquhar, could I speak with you for a moment?
I'm in the middle of an interview.
I really must insist.
That was incredibly unprofessional, Detective.
If we are to discuss professionalism, perhaps we should talk about your work with Mademoiselle Court Smythe.
I think you've got me confused with...
Enough, mademoiselle. It is time for the truth.
You don't think I was involved?
Please do not feign ignorance, mademoiselle. Where did mademoiselle receive her inspiration to make her forgeries? I remind you that I stand before you as a detective. It would be wise not to continue this charade any longer. Poirot, maybe we should... Monsieur Hastings, if Mademoiselle Farquhar requires someone to speak in her defense, she can contact a lawyer.
That won't be necessary. She asked me to photograph certain pieces of art, that's all. I didn't know what she was doing with them. I swear. I have no idea. I thought she was just trying to help my career, and I needed it.
Your career does not appear to need the help of a criminal.
She had such confidence. She knew all the right things to say.
And she got exactly what she wanted from you.
I was financially dependent on her. She paid for the lifestyle that I had found myself in, that she pushed me into.
Couldn't you have just said no to her?
And risk her exposing me for what I had done. She was the one holding all the cards. I had no way of proving it was all her plan. I had no other choice but to do what she said.
Merci, mademoiselle. That is all for now.
Huh. Aha. Ah. Oh.
If it is, it's been written by someone that hasn't quite grasped the English language yet. Fire to Irene. Some kind of instruction to commit arson.
It seems too obvious, but that does not mean it is wrong.
Oh. Ah. Oh. Aha. Huh.
What do you need? What can I do for you?
I will not take up any...
What do you need? The argument with Irene at the gala and then with his wife after.
Madame Hélène had uncovered their relationship. But even with this revelation, what still remains a mystery is Monsieur Christiansen's involvement with the theft. I am sorry to have interrupted your interview earlier.
By the looks of it, what you were saying was much more exciting. Care to spill?
Perhaps we should stick to my questions to you.
Own? You don't just own an animal detective. He's part of our family.
Pardon. And his name?
Enoch. And I ask you the question, what's he got to do with anything? And how do you know about him?
Purely curiosity, madame. Enoch. A splendid name for a most handsome dog. And it was your husband that mentioned him at the gala.
It means faithful in Norwegian. It was Johann's idea.
You have been most helpful.
Oh. Huh. Oh. Ah. Aha.
The pigment of this paint is brighter than it should be.
Meaning?
We have found our second forgery.
Ah.
Poirot, the door. What are you doing in?
Monsieur Christiansen, welcome home.
This doesn't look good, does it?
We have much to discuss.
So Mr. Christiansen had an opportunity and a motive, but he continues to deny killing her.
And still 2 forgeries remain.
I knew it.
Pardon, monsieur?
I knew that's why she stayed so friendly with her. Irene always said she was besotted, that she could get her to do whatever she wanted.
Perhaps you should elaborate on the identity of her?
The curator. Evelyn, what's her name? She could spot a forgery at 20 yards. What better person to show you the ropes so you can make your own?
If the board of trustees at the museum got wind of this, Miss Warbeck's career would be finished.
And in her own words, if anyone was to jeopardize her career,
she wouldn't be held responsible for her actions.
It seems Monsieur Christiansen may not be the only person tied to Mademoiselle Court Smythe who has a secret to hide. Madame Hélène has confirmed the surprise appearance of her husband during the intermission of her show. And as expected, she... Monsieur Hastings, there is something troubling you?
If I may speak freely.
You do not have to ask my permission.
This is all very overwhelming. We seem to be taking one step forward and two steps back.
I can understand your confusion, but you cannot allow it to consume you and your emotions to take charge.
Easier said than done. I just...
Oui, monsieur?
Must you be so hard on her?
I presume you refer to Mademoiselle Farquhar.
You talk about emotions not taking charge.
She is a suspect in a murder investigation, not a guest at afternoon tea. If Mademoiselle Farquhar is more important than discovering the truth and finding justice...
I would have thought you would know better of me by now. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with how you spoke to her.
When it is your investigation, you will have the authority to conduct your questioning how you see fit. Until then, I will continue in a manner that has and continues to bring criminals to justice.
And I'll just keep my opinions to myself.
Let us focus on the case. What do we know about Mademoiselle Warbeck's relationship with the deceased?
Mr. Christensen suggested she had romantic feelings towards Irene, but she was just another of her pawns.
She cleaned the master key to hide Mademoiselle Smythe's actions. But perhaps she then became worried about her own involvement.
You think she could have killed her to stop the truth coming out to the trustees?
Which would in turn ruin her career. It is certainly a possibility. Mademoiselle Warbeck, if you have a moment.
I'm actually rather busy. Is there any chance you could come back later?
I would have thought recovering your painting and identifying a murderer would be at the top of your priority list.
I'm sorry. It's just been so hectic here. I can spare 5 minutes. Honorable? That's a good one.
I get the sense you two spend your time butting faces.
Butting heads.
Oui, butting heads.
It would be easier to say what we do agree on. I don't know what he has against me. I didn't like one of his suggestions for an exhibition, and since then he's made it pretty clear he wants me gone. Usually after an exhibition, the artist's work would be returned to them.
But on this occasion, that is not an option.
I still have every intention of going ahead with the exhibit that includes her work, even if the trustees are against it. I'm still the curator of this museum. I'm hanging her work now, and that's that.
I recall Mademoiselle Smythe referred to the exhibit as hers. The level of arrogance and hypocrisy is now even more evident. You have been most helpful.
Oh. Huh. Huh. Oh. Oh. Aha.
Your Grace.
Detective Poirot, good morning. Can I...
London is a very large city. I would fathom a guess that there is more than one, as I have not had the chance to arrest him yet.
Your confidence astounds me. Look, you had better make it quick. I'm meeting the young Russian girl here. She had some questions about the museum building at the gala. Questions I'm sure only I can answer. God teaches us to forgive and love thy neighbor. Sometimes that can be more challenging than expected.
Has she offended you personally?
Using the museum for her sordid meetings with those uncouth men? I'd say so.
She doesn't strike me as someone that would be caught up in that sort of thing.
And what sort of thing am I referring to?
Well,
Exactly. If you don't know, it would be wise to remain quiet until you're spoken to. I walked in on them in the restoration room a couple of weeks ago. I had come straight from my regular Sunday service, as I had some business to tend to. I opened the door and saw them all sitting there, scheming and planning.
You are not aware of what they were meeting about?
Do you need to wash your ears out? I just told you what they were up to. And I could see she had the financial books out. Why would she need them? I'm not even privy to those. And when she saw me, they stopped talking immediately. Surely that is a sign of their guilt?
Merci, Your Grace. Come now. Think on what has already been learned. I should consider this first.
Go right ahead, Detective. Is it necessary?
You do not wish to impede my investigation?
No, but I don't really understand what they have to do with the case.
It is important that...
That is quite all right, mademoiselle. It was not my intention to make you feel uncomfortable. You have been most helpful.
Go on, then. You make it sound as though it is I that has a problem with her.
Forgive me, have I misinterpreted?
If you cannot even understand what I have to say, how will you ever understand what Jesus and his Father in heaven require of you?
That is perhaps a matter best discussed at a later time. What I wish to know now is about you and Mademoiselle Warbeck.
There is no need to lose one's temper, Detective. The Lord tells us...
Your Grace, please.
A lesson for another time. Let's just say that I certainly wouldn't have given that common thief an exhibition, especially now.
Merci, Your Grace.
Go right ahead, Detective.
You have been most helpful.
Aha. Huh. Ah.
Hot on the culprit's heels. Logical thinking shall always prevail. Bishop Mountjoy was quite adamant Mademoiselle Warbeck's meeting was something untoward. Although I believe anything she does, he will likely look upon negatively. To have a young woman undermine him in front of the other trustees would have been the ultimate insult. He allows his personal feelings to accentuate his cynical side, instead of allowing facts and evidence to show the truth, as one should. Mademoiselle Warbeck was doing nothing detrimental to the museum. In fact, quite the opposite with her attempt to modernize it, likely against the old-fashioned trustees' opinions.
Go right ahead, Detective. I wonder who you've been talking to. What did he tell you? That I've been up to no good?
Not in so many words.
I was meeting with artists for a new exhibition. He has no idea what he is talking about when it comes to art. Or really anything for that fact. He can't see the future. The new wave that will change the art world forever.
As well as the uncouth gentleman you met. He also mentioned the financial books.
Uncouth? Anyone not wearing full priest robes is uncouth to him. I wouldn't show Horace the finances because it has nothing to do with him. And he's simply looking for any excuse to have me fired. Nothing more. Well, Considering he didn't want her work anywhere near the museum, I wouldn't have said they had one at all. Then the next thing I heard was that he had commissioned her to do some pieces for his church. I didn't know anything about it until Irene told me.
Do you know what he had commissioned her to paint?
No idea, I'm afraid. She was sworn to secrecy.
You have been most helpful.
Go on, then. You'll have to be more specific than that, Detective.
The paintings produced by Mademoiselle Cortsmith's brush.
Oh, yes. Well, I thought it was necessary if she was to feature in the museum.
You couldn't just use her other pieces as reference?
I suppose I could have, but I don't actually see why it is any concern of yours. It is not as though I kept it anyway. I wasn't happy with it clogging up my bin, let alone my museum.
Merci, Your Grace.
Oh. Huh. Ah. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Huh. Huh. Aha. Hmm. Huh. Oh. Aha. Mm-hmm. Oh. Hmm. Aha. Huh. Ah.
One step closer to revealing the truth. I must act on thought and fact. I cannot see the logic in this. Order and method. That is the... One step closer to revealing the truth. Something just doesn't... Voila. It appears that the good bishop has been replacing the church's original artworks with fakes painted by Mademoiselle Court Smythe. He commissioned her to make these forgeries so that no one would notice when the originals disappeared.
Disappearing where, though? You don't think he's selling them, do you?
Why else? Mademoiselle Babagnan appears to have been right about the bishop's connection to the black market. Now, Hastings, we must ask ourselves, where might Bishop Mountjoy be hiding the original paintings from the church before he sells them on? We must gain access to the space behind the confessional.
Huh. Oh. Ah.
Why don't you have a look first?
Do not tell me you are afraid of the dark.
Not the dark, just pitch black, eerie passages in old churches. Poirot, where are we?
If I am not mistaken, this is part of the secret tunnels that were built hundreds of years ago to sneak those that did not agree with the powers of the country out.
And why exactly are we in here?
The why must never be obvious. That is the whole point.
Right.